Welcome to part 4 of Who's Driving Your Bus. In the first 3 videos, we took a look at disowned aspects, which are the parts of your personality that you've put out of the loving because they've been shamed, blamed, or somehow judged as bad or unacceptable. And then we looked at identifying those parts, giving them a name, and then exploring them, looking at what are the feelings, what are the underlying motivations for their behavior, what are the patterns of behavior, and what are the personality traits or characteristics of each of your disowned aspects. Now that you have an idea of who is riding in the back of your internal bus, today we're going to begin to reach out and embrace those parts. We're going to talk about the integration process. The integration process is about taking the parts of yourself that have been left out in the dark and reeling them in and bringing them into your heart one by one by one. Eventually, what will happen is all of your parts will be on board and in alignment with your true loving nature. This is when life starts getting really, really good. So let's take a look at going deeper into the integration process. We've already talked about identifying, owning, and exploring your disowned aspects. Now we're going to talk about embracing, healing, and repatterning your aspects. So the first step in the healing process is what I call embracing. Now, you've probably heard people talk about positive thinking, where they will just say, don't think about those negative thoughts. Focus on the positive. Just say something positive and ignore or deflect or deny your negative thinking. For me, this strategy just didn't work. There's a universal law that says what you resist persists. I'll say that again. What you resist persists. So what this means is if you have parts of yourself that are left out in the dark, they are just going to keep coming up in your thoughts over and over and over again until you do something different to acknowledge them. So what works for me is embracing and integrating those parts. The words self-realization mean realizing yourself, making yourself whole, taking all of the parts of yourself that have been out in the dark and bringing them into the light, revealing them, making them real, and then bringing them into alignment with your true nature, which is loving. Unfortunately, most of us are taught to push those parts aside, to continue to avoid or deny or to neglect. I want you to imagine if you were walking along in the woods and you came across a cage and it had a child in it. This child might be dirty, disheveled, starving, dehydrated. Now, would you let the child out of the cage only to kick it and shove it back in the cage? Of course you wouldn't, right? You'd have compassion. You'd open your arms and say, come here, sweetie. Let me give you a bath. Let me get you some new clothes. Let me feed you. Here, have a drink of water. But see, we don't do this in our own consciousness. When we have a negative thought come up, we tell it to shut up. We kick it. We kick that part of ourself and we push it back in the cage, and we do it over and over and over again. So what we have to do here to heal is we have to retrain how we relate when our disowned aspects come up in our own consciousness. And this is the first step in the healing process. I call it embracing. So what you want to do when you have a negative thought come up that is being run by one of your disowned aspects, maybe it's an aspect that feels incapable, so it'll start to run some negativity like, I can't do it, I'm not capable, I'm not good enough, I'll never be able to, blah, blah, blah. Rather than getting mad at that part Imagine yourself reaching out as if that were a scared child and saying to that part, "Oh, I hear you. Come here." And imagine holding that part. "Oh, I hear you're really scared about trying out for this new job. I hear that. I hear you really think you can't do it. But I want to remind you that you can. You're strong, you're capable." So reaching out and speaking lovingly. Now, it's very important when we interact with our disowned aspects that we do so from a place of love and compassion. We don't want to talk down to those parts. We want to treat them respectfully and as equals, but we also want to encourage them to get out of their irrationality. So by embracing them, we give them our new updated beliefs and we get them into alignment with what we know to be true on the spiritual level. What we're doing is we're bringing these parts out of right-wrong reality, out of the fear-based reality, and we're up-leveling into the acceptance of the loving, into the infinite possibility and infinite intelligence of the loving. So this is what I encourage you to do, to reach out, begin dialoguing with your parts, and listening with loving ears. Establish a relationship with your disowned aspects. Listen to each and every part with love. And this is going to change your thinking. These parts are going to begin to soften. They will become less critical. They will become less doubtful, less fearful, less worried. And eventually what will happen is they'll just enfold into your heart and become one with you. I know for myself, my strongest qualities were left out in the dark. The part of me that had a loud voice, for instance, the part I called my yeller, all of my vocal strength had been shamed for yelling, for being bad. So this part of myself was out in the dark and I wasn't able to utilize the strength of my voice until I integrated that part. My creativity was stuck out in one part. My determination was stuck out in another part. So sometimes the qualities that we've had judged, things like stubbornness, commitment, honesty, often these very good strengths have been locked out in the dark, associated with qualities that have been labeled bad or wrong or somehow unacceptable by society. So when you integrate these parts of your personality, you have access to all of your strength and all of who you are. I want this for you. If this has served you in any way and you would like to go deeper, I invite you to join my course. It's a 4-week telecourse called Take the Wheel, which will be diving deeper, identifying, owning, and exploring all of our disowned aspects. And after we've gathered information about these aspects, we'll begin the healing process of embracing and then healing and finally repatterning, creating new healthy patterns that are going to serve you for the rest of your life. If you're interested in this course, to find out more, just click on the link below and sign up. And until then, many blessings of vibrant freedom.